What's up, YouTubers? I got my Plowing package kit today. You got the wing that goes on the side, 2 brackets that it goes on to, a big washer for the back. I was gonna bolt this on. Now I decided I'm gonna weld it. So it comes with all the hardware, you know, for bolting it on or whatever. You know, and you can take it on and off. I'll show you here. Oh. You just kind of get these to in place where you want them. And then this is these are what goes on the eyes. If you don't have, you have to buy I bought a whole set of these today for 50 bucks. You know, bi-metal for going through steel. You have to cut this hole for this to go through, but you get these set up where you want them. They got measurements on the paperwork. The instructions suck ass. They're not even worth having. So what I did was held it up here about where I wanted the first one, and then you use a couple C-clamps to hold the brackets on there. Then you can loosen it, adjust it, loosen it, adjust it. Whatever you got to do to get it where you want. And once this goes through that hole like that, the reference I used was this curve right here. I thought should have been right about at this corner. So that was my point of reference, was that right there. I mean, that's what it looked like on the picture. So anyway, I've got these little, I call them curb walkers. They save your plow edge hugely. I weld these on every year. I might have to cut them off because after you get this brackets welded on, and see there's just a washer goes back here. You know, this is how this gets held on, just like that. Real easy. So once you get this welded on, I said I was gonna bolt these, then I decided to just frickin' weld them on and be done with it. I guess one of the problems they have with these is if you bolt them on, which you can, they say they loosen up quite a bit. You're tightening them up every time you're out plowing or losing a bolt or whatever. So I thought about putting them through and double nutting them so they couldn't come off. You could do that. And I thought, I'm gonna weld them. So I just cleaned them up. That's what I'm gonna do right now, is weld these on. And then I gotta bolt this on the bottom corner. But I'll show you that when I get done with the welding here. So I'll be back in a short. Okay, I'm back. I did end up welding on this and then bolting too, and I'll show you why I didn't think about this when I started. See, the bolts can be 1, 2, 3, 4. These will come off just by taking these little clips off. Then the whole wing's off anyway. I'll show you. There, you're off. So I had a bunch of trouble because of the thinness of the blade here compared to the thickness of these. So what I did was took a smaller piece, half the thickness of this, but a little bit thicker than the blade, and I cleaned it up and welded, wire fed it on top so it wouldn't blow through, and then I stick welded it on the bottom from the little bit heavier metal to the big 1/2-inch metal. But that's fucking bullshit. I was pissed. My my old MiG 100, she just wouldn't do it. Just didn't have enough balls to. So I went and bought this new Century, and it's also argon gas. It's got 4 positions for heat. The old MiG's just got a low and a high, so a lot more superior machine. So, and then of course I love my old Lincoln that could stick weld. I ain't no goddamn wire feeder, but anyway, so that's what I did, was that. Now the directions are very, very, very vague. They're just shit because this application changes depending on the plow that you're doing. So I tried to go off the measurements they said on the 2 little piece of paper, and it's so vague that whatever. What I did is held one up there. Now see, supposed to be a washer back here when you're done. See how that goes through? 9. But anyway, see how that just goes through there and bolts on. Now this is the same here. Now this is what you can do. It looks a lot better, I guess, you know, but they say these bolts loosen up and the holes in there, they can shift a little bit and they loosen up and blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to weld onto these anyway, not once I get them in there and in place. But like I said, after you get this, after you get these mounted, hang one of them up here on the top. Take a C-clamp, put it around like this, C-clamp it, and then hang it on there. And what I used for a reference was the I use this corner down here. I tried to aim this when it's straight. I had it right in the middle of this dip. There's a little dip right there that's kind of dipped right there. I lined that up right to the edge so I could do the same thing on the other side. Like I said, the directions suck ass. So, but anyway, you could just bolt them on. And then what I did is I welded the bolts after I cranked them down tight. I don't know if that was a good idea either, but they won't come loose. So maybe just, I'm assuming if you're buying one of these and putting it on a plow that you have a couple welders and you know, cutting torch and grinders and all shit you need to do this stuff. You just got to get a little Yankee ingenuity, you know, and you'll get her done. But anyway, so once these are in, that's that. And these go on right here like that. It's just bolts, 2 bolts, 2 bolts. I'll do one to show you here. Right through the rubber, through there. Oh, I'm too old to crawl around the ground. I'm out here all day and my knees are raw. So there you go. You do this. When you're all done, and you got the plow on flat ground, so you make sure your blade is flat all the way across when you're setting down, and you have the back jacked up to where it will, right where it'll hook to the truck, the level for the truck. So you got your pitch up here, right? Then once you get this on, you got, as you see, you got a lot of room on this rubber for clearance and whatever. This is where it ended up being. I put it right to the end, and I just went to the other side and drilled through the holes there into the black. Doop, suck it down. That's it. Pull this pin out, pull these 2 pins out. You take the whole thing off when you're out plowing if you don't want it on. I made curb runners and I weld them on here. I have a video on that about how to save your plow edge. So when I suck this down, it bends a little bit, but it ain't gonna hurt shit. So, but that's how it worked out. You're gonna have to get a hole saw, inch and 1/4. It said to drill 1 1/8, which is way bigger. I went 1 1/4 and was able to mark it and hit that hole just fine on each side. But you need hole saw, a couple end wrenches. If you're just gonna bolt it, fine. Otherwise, a wire feed, and you can do the whole thing with it if you got a good enough wire feed, argon. And then if it's thick enough, you can use your Lincoln. But like I said, the thickness of this is friggin' like tape, 1/16 of an inch or something, just flimsy shit. When you try to weld with the big metal on this side, and then that plow edge on that side, clean it, weld it, it just blows right through the back of it because it's so frickin' cheap. But like I said, the directions are very vague. There's nothing online about doing this. I found one video of a guy that did it, but he wasn't real clear on a lot of things, but you know, it got me going enough where I kind of knew what I was going to do anyway. But like I said, if you're tackling a job like this, then you're used to having to work with things, because they say this thing will fit any plow. It's universal kind of, but you just got to get creative. Like where your bolt drill through, you got that last rib here. If you hit that rib, you're screwed. But the holes on the bracketry are oblonged about that far. So that's what I think why they say it moves. If you just put the bolts in, they loosen up and they move and they slide wherever. Well, if you're going to just bolt it and leave it, I would suggest I put big washers on the front and back, sucked it up tight. I would, myself, if this is what I was going to do, I would weld the nuts on the back or use long enough bolts. Probably this way would be better. Use longer bolts and double nut it in the back after you crank it down tight. Put another nut on and crank it again. Then she won't loosen up. If you don't have to have welders and all this crap to do this. You can do it with some good sharp drill bits and a little bit of Yankee ingenuity. It works out fine. But you can see the advantage of it from using an 8-foot plow or a 7.6 or 8, whatever it is, to about 9 foot now. But what I like about it is they cup just a little bit on each side. They cup in so you can pick up your lines. I used to have a whole bunch of bigger equipment years ago. About 5-6 years ago, I scaled down to just me. So I got this standard plow, fits my truck perfect. I just got little lots now. I don't have any super big stuff. But you know how it is if you get one line and it's 40 feet away or 20 feet away or whatever. You go in the center of it, by the time you get to the bank, there's 2 piles on each side. Then you go to those 2 piles, and by the time you push them up, they got 2 more. You end up running that one stupid line, 8 or 10 times. So there you go. So this will really help with that. You can pick up your lines because of that little cup. I think it's going to work really nice. So, and you get a bigger cut too. So, but anyway, that's the skinny on it. So if you get one of these things, just take your time. Put the C-clamp on it and hold your top one up, because then you can put the bottom on and hold it and put it wherever you want it to be. Use the C-clamp to hold them down. Then take a punch. Once you got C-clamps on set, you put the wing on, try and it works, everything's good. Take a punch and punch 4 holes in there, then take the C-clamps and the brackets off and do your drilling. That's pretty much it. So as you go, you'll figure it out. But Bob's Lawn Service and Plowing, I'm out.